Our team's idea for the robot was to make it look like a tractor to fit the farming aesthetic of the 2022 edition.
The wheels are chunky, like tractors' back wheels.
We designed it with a scoop to be able to do certain challenges like the apple grabbing and the sheep moving, as well as the seed filling. We also gave it chunky tires for the aesthetic, but also so it can handle tough terrain.
Our process for the designing the robot was to go online and look up pictures of tractors for inspiration, and we took those and funneled them down into the robot. Our robot is made of a 3D printed chassis, Raspberry Pi and some batteries.
We used CAD to design the wheels and the chassis and everything else that has been 3D printed.
Our first idea was to have a big scoop to pour the grain into the hoppers for each time, and then we changed that to a little servo motor underneath to toggle an open or closed chute to pour it into it more accurately. We created a big scoop to hold all the grain necessary for the challenge to cut down on refueling times, and we used a hopper so that we could pour that much grain more accurately.
We had to be able to hold a kilogram of grain without it breaking the robot, and we had to be able to tip this grain into the chops without it spilling everywhere, which was very difficult. Something that went wrong when we were trying to do the challenge is that the grain was too heavy and the robot sometimes tipped forwards if you quickly stopped.
We added a counterbalance to the back of our robots to be able to fix our tipping over problem.
Oh no!
And we had the idea to make it out of cardboard in separate pieces so we could easily transport it.
The obstacle course featured tight turns and rough terrains for us to overcome, and it was quite difficult to pilot through.
Our main issue with the robot obstacle course was the narrowness of the obstacle course and it flipping over constantly. Our wheels, being very grippy, would go up the cardboard, flip over, go up the cardboard again, flip over again, and leave us in a cycle where we have to reset it and then drive through it again. But somehow, by miracle, this robot could drive upside down during the obstacle course, saving us somehow.
Just get back to the start.
Our approach to the apple picking was to fit the robot with a scoop fitted to a crane kind of mechanism so that we could hook under the apples and slightly nudge them away from the tree and pick them up.
The scoop in practice helped, but also made it a bit more difficult to do the apple challenge. Knocking over the tree a lot of the times, and sometimes the apples would slip out of the scoop, but overall it would be better than not having a scoop. The fact that our robots could move fast enough to do the obstacle course and fast enough to do the grain challenge in a decent amount of time led to some weaknesses in the apple course, with apples rolling off, trees falling over, and sometimes the robot going over apples.
Okay, I may have messed up.
For the sheep challenge, we designed an extra attachment which screwed on underneath the apple picking scoop so that we could hook it over the sheep and drag them or push them into the pen.
Learning from our mistakes in the apple challenge, we decided to slow the robot down and make it easier to pilot while slowed down so that we have more fine control for the sheep challenge.
I've learned during this competition that manoeuvring a robot is harder than it would seem.
I've learned just how much work and effort goes into making a robot function as it should, and how difficult it is to complete a task while under a time pressure.
I really much better at hot than I was before.